Welcome back, Pat.
Hey, Rick. Your name is Rick, right?
Well, you've been gone for 3 weeks, so I can put Paper Pat back in the drawer now.
Well, keep Paper Pat up because it's. I think Paper Pat looks better looking than me, the real
My
live one.
subscriber count went up. I got to say that. So
Well, I did when I went on vacation. The Milwaukee Bucks did win the World Championship, so
yeah,
I was going.
and you were there. So
yeah, I got a quick story on that. We got 20 seconds. I did a loan for one of the front office guys at the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, I am alive, and I did a loan for, like I said, one of the front office guys, and the Milwaukee Bucks, and became friends with him, and I was kind of waiting for a call maybe when I was back in Milwaukee to see if he might say, "Hey, I got an extra ticket for the finals." I never got that call, but I did call him last week, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I go, "This is your mortgage guy." He goes, "I don't have a mortgage guy." I go, "Yes, you do," and I go, "Oh, so you're winning the national NBA championship, world championship, and all of a sudden it goes to your head, and you're getting a big head now." He started laughing. So, but it was when I went to talking on him. He goes, "Yeah, the sad thing was I went to game 1, 2, and 3, and then he went to he said I went to dinner with Senator Herb Kohl, the previous owner for the Bucks, and his son, and." He goes, the next day, I get a call from the Bucks organization saying there was somebody that had COVID around the table, and he had to quarantine for 10 days, and he missed game 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, a lot changed since you've been gone. We're going to share some of those numbers today.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting what a month can do. And then on top of that, I found this today, Pat. That China shut down their largest port because of COVID.
Wow.
So good luck getting that refrigerator on time. And it said that the port's closure comes as global trade is usually much heavier in the second half of the year as businesses in Europe and North America prepare for a jump in sales ahead of Christmas. That's going to be a big impact. On top of that, it also said that they have closed the Beijing airport for flights inbound and outbound. So they're not telling you how bad it is out there, but their closures are telling you. But that's just when we thought we were finally getting this whole cargo thing straightened out, this shows up. So, but in real estate, we have 7,287 homes on the market today. So we are at 7,287. Last week we were at 7,100. And so, we just keep creeping up. Homes under contract, the majority of the homes that went under contract past 7 days are under 400,000, followed by between 400,000 and 600,000 at 1,046 homes. And then we had 412 sell between 600 and 800,000. The interesting thing is, looking at the listing chart, Pat, and this is where I wanted to show you what I'm seeing is changing, is we're creeping up there, but this is all listings. Okay. So this is their 7-day moving average, and it's slightly below 2020 as a total until you do this. You take a look at that price range that I told you had the most sales in it, which is under 400,000. Let me do between 300 and 400,000 here. And we're at 1252, but then when you go between 400 and 500,000, if it'll let me do it, there we go. Look where we're at, 1294. So we are above 2020 and almost getting at 2019 levels. The price range that is feeling it the most right now, as far as inventory is increasing, is between 600 and 800,000. We're right there with 2019 levels.
Yep.
That ought to tell you that the no more appraisal contingencies needed in that price point, right? Because we're just not quite approaching a balanced market, but we're kind of getting there. And then I look at here, and this is listings over, closings over list price, and we've gone down to 53.8%, 54%, down from 60%. Not a huge leap. Condos are down a little further. They're down about 40% going over list price. So they're They're not. But the biggest change here is, remember, these numbers used to be like 20,000,
Mm-hmm.
18,000, 25,000. So out of the 787 homes sold in this price range, the average over list is like 15,000. So it's subtle, but it's there.
Yeah.
And there's still a real inventory shortage up above 1 million.
Hmm.
And look at that.
That's
Between
amazing.
1 million and 2 million, 170,000. Well, here's 1 million and 1.5. Let me include that one too. So they're way down there. So, the wealthy, the $1 million homes, they normally don't list in August, just too hot. They're probably at the Hamptons or something. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other, which I don't pull up on here, but I've showed it before. The over 55 communities their comfort index off the charts. If you need to list in an over 55, you'll make quick work of it. There's hardly anything for sale. But you and I were talking a little earlier about condos and what's different about buying a condo versus a single family home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't, not to, I think the average guy, I mean, I think the average person who's just looking to buy a property, they sometimes don't distinguish between a house and a condo. They're like, okay, it's just a place to live. You remember you and I mentioned that to you, and you're like, yeah, you're kind of. I mean, and if I was just Joe home buyer, like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna buy a house. I'm gonna buy a condo. And the thing of it is that so they don't really differentiate that. But as we talked earlier, there are so many differences from a condo to a house. I mean, I pulled up this one investor Flagstar. These are the conventional condominium guidelines, right? And I mean, there's 19 pages. You don't see this. This is what really differentiates a house from a condo. You don't see 19 pages of guidelines for the most part on a home. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you see different things about appraisal for homes, but this is 19 pages. I mean, and I'm not going to bore the living heck out of people with details, but I mean, you got to be, whether it's warrantable or non-warrantable. Warrantable means basically it's accepted by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, their conventional guidelines. If you hear the word non-warrantable, it's not accepted by the federal guidelines. But you've got, I mean, I'm just going to flip through here just real quickly. I mean, you got HOA. Once you get a condo, you have to have an HOA questionnaire. We have to send it to the HOA and see if it's, if they need a full review or a limited review. A limited review means it's been, it's already approved, but maybe it hasn't been, done for a while, maybe a year. So they could do a limited review. But there's LTV restrictions like 90%. I'm just going to run through some of these and this, I'll bore people a little bit, but just to show you the difference. Limit loan to value restrictions, the percentage of the project that has to be conveyed to the unit purchasers has to be at least 90% on Fannie Mae and 75% on Freddie Mac. The budget, does the HOA have a decent budget? They have to have HOA insurance and showing $1 million liability. They have to have fidelity coverage, a master hazard policy. They have to have reserve requirements of like 3 months reserves. And then another thing is, basically litigation, is the HOA in litigation. And that's the problem is when you get these, and that's what they're trying to do is, you're buying a condo unit. Let's say there's 100 condo units. Those 100 units do affect your livability versus buying an individual house. And that's why you've got all these, these restrictions. And the problem is people get along, like I said, delinquent HOA fees. It says no more than 15% of the unit owners can be more than 60 days delinquent on paying their HOA. So that something like that right there alone could possibly make the condo unit going from a warrantable to non-warrantable. So,
yeah, and because you own it, it's a community property, so you own it
yeah.
all together. So they really look at the finances of the HOA.
Yeah.
And another thing that people need to be aware of too in a condo is if you get into a condominium that has like one or two people that the majority of it is now rentals. So I had this happen down on Thomas, and they got a letter saying that the entire complex was being purchased and converted to an apartment complex. And the letter basically said, "Here's how much we're buying your place for." You
Mm-hmm.
had no say. Here's how much. And the reason is the majority owners, if they pass that by a vote of 75%, they can now sell the whole thing. In your opinion, doesn't mean squat. So that's what you mean by warrantable, non-warrantable as well, is that they're trying to keep some of them, the percentage of non-owner occupieds small. And I don't know what that is.
No, answer your question. It says maximum single individual or single entity ownership, such as investor group, partnership, or corporation. And this is why condos are so. You and I have talked about this. There, I mean, every time a realtor or a client calls me and says I'm thinking about buying a condo, I swear to God, the hair on the back of my neck goes up because it's just a different animal. So anyway, like I said, the number of units in a project, 2 to 4 units, it doesn't matter. It does not available. But if the unit is 5 to 20 units, the max they can own is 2 units, and then 21 or more units. And Fannie Mae, it's 20%, and then Freddie Mac, it's 25%. So you get all these numbers, and the HOA restrictions and insurance restrictions, and is it commercial space? Is there commercial space larger than 30%? And is the HOA, do they have amenities that they have a lease, or do they own those amenities like a pool and stuff like that? Because sometimes they don't own that separately. So the HO6 insurance. So I guess our whole point of conversation is people don't know about that, but you just have to be very aware. I just had my ex-girlfriend look to buy a condo in Florida. Got perfect credit. She's putting 20% down. This happened about a couple weeks ago. I didn't do the loan. I had to refer it out to somebody in Florida, and they ordered the questionnaire 4 weeks right at the beginning. They didn't get the questionnaire back for 4 weeks right before closing, because that's typically HOA. You got some guy that doesn't ever gets to it, and that's another issue you got to deal with. The HOA.
I run into that all the time.
Yeah, and so they dragged their feet, and then they got their HOA questionnaire. Well, then there was like 3 bullet points. They said, "Sorry, we're unable to make a loan to you. We have to decline it because the HOA had less than 10% in reserves." And they could have gotten around it. Well, there's another thing in the CCRs that said it was a condo tel versus a condo. And a condo tel is basically like a hotel and a condo where they can rent rooms on a daily or weekly basis.
Oh, I haven't heard of those. So
yeah, it's like down in Florida where they have basically like a reservation desk. So that's a whole new thing. So like you said, I mean, we're just making people aware that condos, if you're thinking about buying one, do your research, make sure it's approved or can get approved, because it can get you in kind of a sticky situation. Regarding my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, she had to basically pay cash for it. And she's going to try to finance it as a non-warrantable condo, maybe a couple months down the road. So
that's rough. Well, here's the number of listings for condos in our market is only 1,000. So there's not a whole lot of activity going on there. And most of those are probably in the 200,000 to 300,000 range. So if I pull it up here, and I'll say between 200 and 300 and see what we got. You have 277. So not a lot out there.
Mm-hmm.
So there, and then a lot of condominiums, projects, you can tell the condition of the budget just by pulling in the driveway and looking at the outside of the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't buy this because you're going to get hit with a special assessment. And the more elevators they got, the higher the HOA fee. So
yeah, it's just I know, because like I said, we're only bringing this up because a lot of people will say, "I can't buy a house now, but I'm going to buy a condo." You're just, like I said, I always say they're just basically glorified apartments, is what they are. I mean,
yeah, and I think I talked several months ago and said, don't buy a condo because you're feeling rejected that you can't get into that house. That's settling, because you're getting into the house because you just don't like apartment living. And if you don't like apartment living,
you're going
to hate condo living. Now, buy a condo. If you like a condo, get one, because they've got pools, they got gyms. There's no maintenance. That stuff's great. Sometimes you get a nice destination where nobody's either above you or below you. So I'm not kicking that. But if you don't like living in your apartment and you go, well, I can't get into the house, I might as well get in a condo, you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
Because in the apartment complex, you're not dealing with an HOA. You're not dealing with the residents that live there that are on the board, and they are worse than most of them. Are on the HOAs on the boards are doing it because they've never done it before and they've never run a business. They've never managed anything. They're just really good at turning people in and complaining. And,
I mean, yeah, special assessments too of the condo. Yeah, there's different. There's all different types. You know what? One alternative is there's some you get some of these like in Scottsdale. You get these townhomes. Townhome is definitely different. I mean, believe it or not, it's people call me and say I'm going to buy a townhome. No problem. I mean, it's just like night and day. You've got kind of a little bit. You get the HOA and you got a few things that are kind of condo like characteristics, but it just seemed from a lending standpoint, townhomes are just like. A 10 versus a condo. It's a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's just it's amazing. So
and the definition, what's the difference between a condo and a townhome?
It has to be the shared. I mean, that basically has to do with the oh my God, you caught me off guard. I know that it's basically has to do with the shared property, as far as the wall in. And sometimes one thing is I do know that sometimes condos or townhomes are classified as condos, but they're still actually, if you have to look at the CCRs to see if it's a townhome or not, because sometimes it's the wording in the CCR. So it has to do with the land and the walls, the shared property, the condo and the townhome.
I think simply to describe it as townhomes don't have anybody above you or below you.
Yeah. I was gonna actually, that's one thing I was gonna say. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So your shared walls are not as many. You're not sharing your ceiling is not somebody else's floor and exactly. The like. So that market is it's pretty. The other thing too, if you're thinking about buying a condo and turning it into an Airbnb, be careful because a lot of these condominium associations are clamping down on short-term rentals.
Well, you got to look at the CCRs. We just had a loan officer that had that just posted about a week ago. She said she had a client buy a condo, and they had old CC&Rs that said, you rent it. Well, then they get the new ones, and they said you can't rent them out. So now he's stuck. He can't rent it out. He bought his investment property. He can't rent it out.
Yeah. Luxury condos, that's a whole different animal, Carlos. There's some around here I really like Kierland.
Yeah.
Because you can't beat the views. I mean, and now there's that one that's down by the Scottsdale Fashion Center, which is same builder as the one that put the new ones up in Kierland there.
Yeah.
You go back by the garage entry, and that's where all the real estate agents hang their lock boxes. And there is a wall of lock boxes. They're turning so many of those units. There's always people moving in, moving out. Some of them are beautiful. They're $1 million. But to find the lockbox is impossible because you're going over, you're turning them over, you're looking. They're all attached to this big fence. And oh, man, I like it.
Interesting.
You're saying I could take my mortgage and invest it in my mid-20s. You got me stuck there. But anyway, enough about condos. So Pat saw some articles today that there was a survey out where they think the Fed is going to start pulling back on their bond purchases and their MBS and treasuries in late September.
I think
Yahoo article.
I think 7 out of 10. I think I saw something correct. Maybe the numbers aren't 7 out of 10 federal governors said they want to start tapering. So it's inevitable. I think they will. With inflation, they're gonna tap everything down. I've read and seen enough. It's just a matter of when they're going to do it. I mean, I hope they do it in the middle of the night when nobody really knows. Because
because it's going to be a swift change. As I look at these numbers, it sure looks like it's lining up to where September and October, particularly October's, going to be a much, much better time for buyers.
Yeah.
Because you just don't have you're not going to have. I'm going to try and pull it up here. You're just not going to have the issues with being outbid. And
I'm starting to see it. I mean, I came home. I mean, you're more in the numbers and I'm more into the psychology, as I talked to you earlier. You read, I do enough reading and seeing and talking to people that you get the numbers, but then you got the psychology, and the psychology can be run by the numbers, or numbers can, it's flip flop. But I mean, the psychology of it is people are just getting tired. They're getting burnt out from offering 50, 60,000. And I came home from vacation, and I got a small subdivision I live in, and there's been no homes for sale. All of a sudden I came home 2 weeks later, I see 4 homes pop up for sale.
Yeah. And open house signs, there's more open house signs on the weekend, but the subtle difference too, though, is that, we keep hearing buyer fatigue, but it's not showing up in the numbers.
No, there's still buyers out there. It's just
they're still at this one level. Now, this is a holiday, right? This is a holiday, but we were obviously higher here. This really looks like it's really high on the chart, but that's 4,300 contracts there. And today we're at 3,870. So, 500 homes, that's not going to turn the market, but the listings are going up higher than what we're purchasing them at. And that's what we need to see. That's a good thing. But you are seeing more and more. You go to neighborhoods, drive down the street, and there are no for sale signs. And now you have a few. And what we're really looking at now is it seasonal? Some of it is.
Yeah, some of it is, but I think people are. I mean, you got that. Like I said, I just look at the psychology of it. You got these sellers; they're holding out. It's only human human psychology plays a big part in everything. I mean, you got these people. You got a group of people out there that want to sell, right? And we now are living in a society where you want to get top dollar. It's where, everybody's got information in front of them that, back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, you did not have the amount of information that you have now in front of you via the computer. You got Zillow and you got this, you got that. I mean, the average person's got a lot of information in front of them. And now, if you think about it, they're almost playing it like a stock market. They want to get that top dollar. Like, oh, I saw, somebody in my neighborhood sold their house for $475. I'm going to put mine at $495, but they don't realize the one at $475 had a remodeled kitchen and so people, the psychology of it, people are going to try to get that top dollar. And then, you see that break, people start selling. And then all of a sudden this is kind of a little bit of a domino effect. We're like, okay, I saw one house sold for $475, but they lowered it to $460. I better get in there and sell. I mean, it's all this psychology. It's kind of built up, and it takes a while for the cycles to kind of take hold.
And that's what we're seeing here. These are price changes. Nobody changes the price and raises it as a rule. Some people do. I don't get it, but you can see the price. These are people right about here saw how things were selling, down here in April. And they're going, man, my neighbor got this. Well, I'm going to price it way up here. And then now they had to lower the price.
Yeah.
But it happens. Yeah. I mean, it happened here. It happened here. It happened here. Like you said, it's the psychology. It just,
and that cycle, you see those humps. It's you just have to break it down. What would I do? Like if I was selling my house, I saw my next door neighbor sell for $460. I'm thinking, hell, I can probably get $475 for mine. And all of a sudden, I'm not getting I don't get, the traffic is starting to slow down, and I'm like, oh, all right, I'm going to drop it down to 460 or 455. And these cycles are a little bit more, like I said, I think people acquit it. They almost treat it like a stock now.
Well, then you got to add, don't forget the COVID variant now too, which makes people, very uneasy and nervous and stuff. So, next week, I am going to be gone. I'm going to be in North Dakota all week. So I'm going to try and do a few live ones in the morning. Depends on where I'm at and location and all that fun stuff. But Friday at 3:00, I think I don't think I get back Thursday night. So for next Friday we'll be on. So
okay,
so it should be a good time.
I just in terms of I just want to jump in here. I know me jumping around. I saw that they said CoreLogic. Just in terms of go back to forbearances, the people say, well, there's probably gonna be forbearance because you're now hearing the eviction stuff, the foreclosures and stuff. It still pop up there a little bit. And he said that the average person in forbearance has an estimated $101,000 in equity.
Wait, we're not going to have a wave of foreclosures?
I don't know. We'll see. They, like you said, they even take out the estimated missed payments and say you still have about $87,000 in equity. So that's. I mean, I think there's gonna be, it's gonna be muddled in a little bit. So I mean, that's gonna probably mute. There'll be some, but that'll probably mute. They'll increase the supply. And I saw another thing too, where did you see where builders, the lumber prices are coming down, and the problem is now with lumber coming down, I was watching MBS Highway, and they said these builders are in a quandary now because they have to work through their current inventory where they bought lumber here.
Yeah.
And now lumber's going down in price, but they bought their lumber here. So they have to so that's going to kind of curtail building because they don't want to go out and buy lumber at say $100, whatever, a square foot, like whatever it is, say 100, but then a month later it's at 80. So they bought lumber here. So they got to work through that and sell the stuff here before they start building a little bit more. He goes, that's going to cause a little bit more of a delay on the building side. And one last thing on the mortgage side, rates obviously have been, creeping up a little bit the last week, but then we saw a good day today. The 10-year, two-year coupon was at 101.36. It was up 33 basis points. So we saw some recovery the last couple of days on rates. But interesting note, I mentioned to you one last thing. I'll let you go, and we'll let the buyer, people go. But they're coming out with a new. Fannie Mae's coming out with a new for desktop underwriting. This is where I take somebody's application, then I run it through this computerized system. Desktop, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. But DU/Fannie Mae is coming out with a credit averaging system. Because normally what I do is I borrower one and borrower two, I take their middle score. I take the middle score and then I take the lower of the two middle scores. So borrower A had a 750 credit score and the borrower B had a 650. I'd have to take the 650. But what Fannie Mae is going to start doing is they're going to average the 750 and the 650. So now you got a 700 credit score versus a 650.
That should help a lot of buyers.
Yeah, it should help. I mean, it should help. I don't know. They're going to implement that, I think, and I don't know when. I didn't see, but I don't know what the timing is, but it's going to help, pricing.
So guys, marry that gal if she's got a 750.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put the ring on it.
Don't dilly-dally around. So
exactly. So
well, Pat, have a super weekend.
Yep.
And I know we'll see you here next week, I think.
Good seeing everybody again.
If not, we go back
to the cardboard pack. Come back.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
See you.
See you. Bye.
Now.